there is police activity in the area of Murray and Galley in Colorado Springs. The streets are all blocked off in that area, so you're asked to avoid that area if at all possible. We have heard reports of 2 officers down, and we do have crews in that area trying to get you the latest information.
Yeah, Bart and Heather, we are at the corner of Murray and Galley right now. I'm going to go ahead and step out of the way so you can see just the sheer amount of police presence and law enforcement presence at this scene.
At this point, we are being told that 1 deputy has died and 2 others were injured in the shooting in East Colorado Springs, those 2 others being officers. That's in addition to any suspects that may have been injured or killed. We have no information on that.
We can tell you that we expect new information to come out around 6 o'clock tonight. Now, let's go live to Casey Kirshner, who has been there at Memorial Central Hospital to bring us any new information. Casey, what can you tell us? What do you see there from your vantage point?
Actually, for the first few minutes, we saw a lot of ambulances coming in, zooming past the hospital and into the emergency area.
Okay, we're going to go to Crystal Story back at the scene. Crystal, you've had a chance to kind of roam around and talk to some of the folks that live in the complex there. What have you learned?
It has grown somber here. A lot of the people who stood at this perimeter earlier this afternoon have now left and gone home, but we've talked to a couple people.
And we are awaiting a press conference there at Memorial Hospital from El Paso County Sheriff Bill Elder.
It looks like they're going to start talking at the news conference at Memorial Central. Let's listen in right now. It's Jackie Kirby from the El Paso County Sheriff's Office.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for coming.
It is with profound sadness that I say that this afternoon, Deputy Micah Flick, 34 years old, was shot in the line of duty and has died.
There we just heard
Confirm what we feared all afternoon. In fact, it's even a little bit worse than what we thought in terms of the total number of law enforcement officers injured.
34-year-old Deputy Micah Flick was shot and killed this afternoon. He is survived by his wife and 7-year-old twins. Today was his 11th anniversary with the Sheriff's Office. He was hired February 5th, 2007. According to Sheriff Bill Elder, quote, "He is an outstanding member of my agency and he will be missed."
5 days after a tragedy claimed the life of an El Paso County deputy, Deputy Micah Flick was laid to rest. Thousands attended his funeral today in person to pay their respects, with thousands more watching it on TV or online. We begin our team coverage tonight with a look inside New Life Church this afternoon.
His funeral was as honorable as the way Deputy Micah Flick lived his life. More than 100 blue-tipped flowers were placed in 2 vases, each from a different law enforcement agency represented today.
He loved his job, and everyone will tell you that he excelled in every job he held.
The governor said of his 70 funerals as an elected leader, he can't think of one sadder than today's.
Sometimes I wonder if God takes the best among us to remind us to live our lives to the fullest. You raise me up so I can stand on mountains.
The service was a chance to honor and to remember Deputy Micah Flick, but more than anything, to learn about his life outside of law enforcement, how he was able to balance his life as a deputy with his faith and, most importantly, his family. His wife, Rachel, talked about the daily challenge of watching him leave for work.
And I would say to him not infrequently, "Babe, don't be a hero. Do your job and do it well, but don't be a hero." But here's the problem. Here's the problem with Micah is that he was a hero. He is a hero, and he couldn't help it. He couldn't help it.
But Rachel Flick didn't just speak as a grieving widow. Showing the same strength as her fallen husband, she talked about the larger problem of how much of society views police today.
And I want to say to you that it's not confusing why Micah died, because we have a cultural epidemic of a lack of respect for law enforcement and authority.
His heart was more pure than any other man I ever met.
He's a hero not for how he died, but for how he lived.
X-ray 26, Detective Micah Flick. Thank you for your bravery and years of service. You will not be forgotten. End of watch.
Minutes after today's service, law enforcement officers and other emergency responders took part in that large procession from New Life Church to Woodman and Meridian in Falcon. We flew our News Channel 13 drone over the procession. These are the images from the sky of the incredible show of support from law enforcement and the community as people lined the route of that procession to pay their respects to this fallen hero. From above, you can see the hearse pass under the large American flag that bridged the highway. It was escorted by flashing lights from hundreds of emergency vehicles. News Channel 13's Casey Kirshner talked with some of those along the route today.
Thousands of people posted along the procession route, armed with flags, salutes, bowed heads, people leaning on each other, all the way down the 13-mile stretch.
Unfortunately, it's a bad situation that we're out here with, but you know, one way or another, we have to show our support in every which way we can.
It's just something that is very simple for to come and do when they're putting so much of their life on the line.
A massive flag flown by fire crews, a show of love and support from another branch of emergency response.
This is so important for the family to give a hero's send-off, and we just feel very strongly about that to support our brothers and sisters.
Everyone braving the cold and snow to make sure Deputy Micah Flick's family and the sheriff's office know just how much this loss is felt.
4 o'clock, our top story this afternoon, a wildfire ripping its way through El Paso and into Pueblo counties. Crews from all across southern Colorado have now joined the fight after the fire spread from a range on Fort Carson. The strong winds, of course, pushing it off post after that. The fire, we believe, somewhere right around here and blowing to the east or southeast direction. Now, the Red Cross has set up an evacuation center in Fountain at the Fountain Valley Baptist Church on Alabama Avenue.
We have live team coverage tonight, so we want to send it right out to KRDO News Channel 13's Katie Spencer, who has the very latest on the fire. Katie.
Yeah, Dana, so we are off of Highway 115 just south of Gate 1, and we've been here since probably right around noon, and so we've been watching the fire grow. Let me get out of the way so you can have a perspective of what we're seeing right now.
We've also been told that there are a lot of propane tanks over there in the Midway Ranch area, and our photographer Mike Messia said he believes he saw one that kind of exploded at one point during the fire today. Yeah, we're being yelled at right now by an El Paso County Sheriff's deputy that we've got to get out of the area because the winds have changed direction and the fire is coming this way.
And we do want to show you this dramatic video of the smoke plume billowing upwards. Our Scott Harrison shot this about 2 hours ago. This is not happening right now, just to let you know, but you can see how strong those winds are, how large that plume was because of those winds. And this is from him driving as he was being moved from one area to another. He had been moved about 4 times today because of the imminent danger as those winds switch directions. This is a very eerie scene, probably giving deja vu to many people who lived through the Waldo Canyon and Black Forest fires. Certainly something that we didn't want to see again, but we are dealing with right now. Many people evacuated from this fire as well. And our KRDO News Channel 13's Chase Golightly is live at Ground Zero, PPIR, where there's a command station set up, and many evacuees are there right now. Chase.
Dana, dozens of people are still coming in, bringing whatever they could grab before evacuating their homes. As you can see in this parking lot, it's pretty much filled. We have children, families here, but also a lot of people grabbing their pets. And we're not just talking about cats and dogs. We're also talking about horses. It looks like we even have some goats over here to our left. A lot of people just grabbing whatever they could. They said that living in the area that they were, they each have about 5 acres of land, which means that they usually have a lot of livestock on their land. So when they heard about this fire, they grabbed all that they could and tried to make it over here.
We begin tonight with our continuing coverage of the Carson Midway fire.
Families there now return to their homes after the fast-moving blaze on Friday prompted the evacuation of some 250 homes, many of which had horses, sheep, and other large animals on the property.
And those returning evacuees are coming back to a landscape that looks very different from before. 3,200 acres of charred homes and hills. KRDO News Channel 13's Colleen Sikora is live in the studio tonight with a unique look at the burn scar. Colleen.
Yeah, Heather, for the first time, we're taking you up and over the burn scar, trying to get a grasp on the extensive damage the Carson Midway fire left in its wake. Even from this bird's eye view, you can't see it all.
Evidence of the Carson Midway fire left behind as far as our drone can capture. Blackened ground stops at this house's edge. Firefighters fought to save it while other structures burned down. This charred playground
Burn the swings off.
belongs to Charles Pierce's family, their home, and animals still standing while 3 vehicles are completely gone.
All the stuff that we lost is replaceable. We didn't lose any lives. That's the important thing.
Scott Griffith walking through rubble too. He's lived here for 2 years and has watched fires on Fort Carson stay away.
I just got so used to thinking they can handle it, you know, and that day there, I mean, it's just amazing how fire spreads so fast.
Many grateful for the firefighting efforts seen here as cars drive through red streaks showing the remnants of retardant drops.
Wind and fire, a destructive combination. At least a dozen structures burned.
We lost our motorhome and everything we own.
Our medicine, our insulin, our everything.
My heart medicine.
Everything. We lost everything. Our motorhome
Pictures.
burnt down to the ground.
That couple's story shared by so many others today.
We're not gaining any ground on containment in any way.
From Hanover to Pueblo County, team coverage of this relentless fire day.
Even tonight, you can see the glow of the fire from our Cheyenne Mountain camera. The winds are now blowing towards the south, prompting a pre-evacuation of the Pueblo Chemical Depot, although the chemical weapons stored there are heavily protected from catching fire.
El Paso County Sheriff Bill Elder said a short time ago they are still in a rescue mode to protect everyone in the fire's path, not focusing on trying to contain it. A last report, 10 structures were lost, including at least a few homes. The sheriff said crews plan to begin attacking the fire tomorrow morning with the help of new resources from the state as well as Fort Carson.
And let's get you out live to KRDO News Channel 13's Colleen Sikora.
She's been tracking the fire since it broke out this afternoon. She has the latest tonight from county leaders. Colleen.
Yeah, Bart and Heather, the big update tonight from Sheriff Elder is that the winds have shifted south, but the winds here remain strong, leaving crews still fighting to contain the 117 fire.
We're not gaining any ground on containment in any way. So it's going to be a long night for the firefighters that are on the line.
And the people that were ready for it were ready for it. And the people that weren't, they lost.
And we weren't lucky.
The Herberts went to pick up their grandson from school in Fountain, only to return to a smothering trailer. The only thing they have left is their PT Cruiser and the clothes on their backs.
I thought it was just going to be another regular day. Sad, I had everything in there. There was animals everywhere. And all the houses around us just got burnt.
Our top story at noon, officer down in Colorado Springs. A police officer was shot while responding to a call early this morning.
And of course, this is still an incredibly active scene. If you joined us earlier this morning, it really doesn't look much different than it did earlier around 4 or 5, even 6 o'clock.
Good afternoon, John and Shannon. We've been here all morning. We got the initial call this morning learning that Officer Duzel was at the hospital undergoing surgery.
Right here in this block where I'm standing, in this concrete area here, is where that violent confrontation between armed suspect and responding police officer happened.
The El Paso County Sheriff's Office has named Kamar Noman Al-Khamasi as the suspect who's believed to have pulled a handgun on Springs police and exchanged gunfire with them.
It was a call for shots fired that brought police to the 2300 block of East Boulder. 5-year officer Jem Duzel was first on the scene, and investigators say as others arrived, the suspect pulled a handgun, prompting an exchange of gunfire. The injuries to the suspect, identified as Kamar Noman Al-Khamasi, not life-threatening. Duzel was shot in the head.
Give me medical here now. I got an officer down. Hurry up, get up here. We got a gunshot wound to the head. Get him here now.
Duzel was rushed to Memorial Hospital just blocks away in critical condition.
Please keep Officer Duzel, his family, and the Colorado Springs Police Department in your thoughts and prayers.
The shooting shut down a large scene for hours, with the El Paso County Sheriff's Office taking over as the lead agency charged with piecing together what went wrong and why.
We will process the scene, interview the witnesses, and that will give us a better picture and understanding of what happened today.
But during our coverage, this happened.
Neighbors have been driving by all morning slowly because as many of you are waking up and finding this out for the first time, they are also waking up.
Dramatic moments right there. An erratic driver plowing into our news crew and then continuing on into the crime scene. We have KRDO News Channel 13's Crystal Story standing by right now. Crystal, we can reassure all our viewers that you and videographer Pete Miller are all okay, and so glad for that.
Hey, good morning, John and Shannon. I can tell you that listening to that video, it's hard. We are okay. We just by inches didn't get hit by that car.
Get down! Pueblo is a union town. Get up! Get down!
Today marks day one of the strike, and teachers don't plan to give up. It comes after the union and the school district couldn't reach a contract deal.
And we have team coverage on the strike, from the teachers' message to District 60's stance and how it's all impacting students and parents. This morning, they gathered outside multiple schools and then made their way around the city, hoping people would hear and see them. They stopped outside the District 60 administration building to try and increase the pressure for a better contract deal. We spoke with multiple teachers who all have the same message.
We are serious. Teachers have been too long without a voice.
I hope we're going to settle. Our kids need to go back to school just like we do.
It's union versus district as they discuss in detail what this third offer entails. Educators are hopeful things will work out, especially since the first two offers made by the district were quickly denied. The union president, Suzanne Etheridge, says if things go well with the district and they like what they have to offer, teachers could be back in the classroom by Monday. However, if they don't, these teachers are ready to get back on the picket line on Monday. Be sure to stick with KRDO. We'll bring you the decision as soon as it's made. We're in Pueblo. Chase Golightly, KRDO News Channel 13.
And we're still tracking that meeting between District 60 administrators and teachers. Looks like more people have arrived at this point, and the meeting is about to get underway. Hopefully, we'll make sure we're bringing you updates throughout the show right here on KRDO.
Again, as we've been telling you, there's an air of optimism here today from the teachers that some deal somehow will get done today, and the teachers will go back to work on Monday after being on strike for a week. We'll see what happens. We'll continue to be out here throughout the day to keep you updated on what's going on in the Pueblo School District 60 teacher strike.
The crowd was so loud they could be heard inside the quiet negotiation room throughout the meeting. Leaders for the union and district met to hash out the offer for 8 long hours. Officials talked about changes to the offer, taking multiple breaks to discuss it. The longer it went on, voices on both sides were raised and arguments ensued.
I believe you do have the money in the budget. That's not the case at this point.
With teachers in the audience also getting upset, they started to raise their voice.
We're not accepting any comment from the audience. Thank you.
Leading D60 officials to leave the table until things quieted down. They finally returned, and together, the union and district agreed on a tentative offer.
Highway 24 is closed in both directions, east and westbound, due to a mudslide between Cristola and Cave of the Wind. So if you live on either side, the bookends of Woodland Park or Colorado Springs, you're kind of stuck for the time being. Here's some video that we took earlier before the road closed.
As I mentioned, this is right between 30th and 31st Street. And notice the water here. It's really rushing heavy, but this is actually, believe it or not, significantly better than what we were showing you just about 30 minutes ago. That video we sent in, it was a constant rush of water. I want to show you guys over here, though. We're going to walk and show you the debris so far. Hundreds of people lived here at Fountain Creek RV Park. You see police are situated here helping residents who are trying to get out of their homes.
Here's video of that water just simply rushing into the bridge there at 31st Street. You can see that as a comparative. Lots of water just about an hour ago where Stephanie was just standing.
We have our Chase Golightly, who's been out and about in that part of El Paso County over the last hour or so. Chase joins us live. Chase, so where are you and what are you seeing right now?
Well, we're in the Countryside neighborhood. That's about southeast of Fountain, and it's just walls of hail. I'm in almost more than ankle deep of hail right now, just walls of it, about pea size, and people are actually shoveling that hail right now. It looks like Christmas in July down here.
If you live in southern Colorado, chances are you felt the impact of today's storm in some way.
We begin with a quick overview of the storm's path and what it brought through our cameras and yours.
Heavy rain and hard hail first hit Woodland Park. It left backyards blanketed in white and floating up to drivers' doors in the Walmart parking lot.
The real problem was the runoff from all that rain. Some of it slid right down Highway 24, forcing drivers in Cristola to exit the road entirely.
The rest of it went into a swollen Fountain Creek captured here in Green Mountain Falls. The combination of rain and hail on the highway forcing some drivers to lose control.
A 12-mile stretch was later closed on both sides south of Woodland Park, mostly due to several feet of mud and rocks that came crashing down the hill onto the pavement.
Downstream, visitors in Soda Springs Park in Manitou Springs watched a flash flood take over a normally calm creek. Fountain Creek also pounded this bridge leading to an RV park in Old Colorado City.
It prompted police to call for a bus and ambulance in case a full evacuation was needed. Luckily, it was not.
Can you see out that way?
The people in this Colorado Springs home watched water flow down the stairs into their basement.
The high water overcame several cars here on Uinta as well as here on 8th Street. And just as the water moved downstream below 8th Street into the Security Widefield area, so did the storm itself.
It brought winds powerful enough to knock down trees and power lines and dropped so much hail, residents were left scooping it up with snow shovels.
But just when you thought the storm was winding down, a new round of rain hit Fremont and Pueblo counties, flooding streets and threatening homes and businesses. It was the final stop of the storm that just wouldn't quit.
Our top story, 4 o'clock, severe weather sweeps across southern Colorado. This was the scene outside our studio near downtown Colorado Springs about 90 minutes ago, and there's more coming our way.
This is from Laura in Widefield. You can see that hail the size of her palm there. In Fountain, Brandon sending us these hailstones, size of golf balls, baseballs, it looks like. They're very large.
And this is a really scary size here. You talk about dime size and nickel size, doesn't do a lot of damage, but this is damage. This is the second photo that I've seen today sent to us by a viewer that either suffered an injury herself, this is Katrika Allison, or witnessed an injury to someone else.
And we also know that 8 people were hurt at the Cheyenne Mountain Zoo when that hail started falling. Most cars were damaged in the parking lot. And now we have our Chase Golightly live with the latest. Chase.
Dana, we actually moved right across the street. We're at the fire station, Colorado Springs Fire Station at Levita and Cresta. They're actually going to be holding a press conference here about the Cheyenne Mountain Zoo, what they were doing to get those kids, their families, and everyone out of the area safely without anyone getting hurt. Like we said earlier, 8 people were taken to the hospital after getting hit with golf ball-sized hail.
These are photos taken in the parking lot of the Cheyenne Mountain Zoo. These illustrate the type of scene that happened there earlier today. These cars clearly undrivable. And on that note, Springs police are letting us know that authorities at the scene are not letting citizens kick out their windshields to drive their vehicles. That's just not a safe way to do this. Instead, once again, people at the zoo are being put on buses and bussed down to Cheyenne Mountain High School. Some of the buses are arriving at Cheyenne Mountain High School right now. Let's go to Chase for more on that.
Yes, Bart, people have actually started coming in from Cheyenne Mountain Zoo on these buses right here. We were told that 2 of the buses were meant for children at the camp. The other was for tourists and their families. You can see everyone coming in, children of all ages and their parents. Those buses still coming in. They were coming over from Cheyenne Mountain Zoo, where we're seeing golf ball-sized hail. The American Red Cross is now taking them into the high school to get situated for the time being. But let's see if maybe we can talk to someone real quick. Hey, sir, can we ask you some questions about everything?
All the cars in the parking lot are destroyed, every single one of them. The hail was so hard. My daughter got taken to the hospital. Really? So we're trying to get to her.
As we now know, more than 400 cars in this lot are completely destroyed. I want to walk and show you the damage. This car here is what nearly all of the cars in this parking lot look like. Glass shattered everywhere. And I've counted a few dozen cars that have been towed away, but many weren't as lucky and are now stuck here trying to find a safe place to stay.
It started out as a long-awaited vacation that quickly turned into a nightmare for the Vance family.
I've never seen anything like it before.
Their car, one of more than 400, completely destroyed in the Cheyenne Mountain Zoo parking lot.
We were visiting one of the exhibits, and Alexa actually started looking outside and said, there's these big things coming down.
They're talking about hail, not pea-sized hail, baseball-sized hail that pounded the Broadmoor area for 20 minutes straight. This video captured while the Vances were inside the bear exhibit. Large hail just pummeling into the water.
And I started crying after a while.
Alexa wasn't alone. Hundreds of other families now stranded.
I don't know where I'm going, what I'm doing, how I'm getting there.
Robin Lane says she plans on sleeping inside her wrecked car.
It's hard when you're on your own and you're trying to make things better.
The damage so severe everywhere you look, all you can see is broken plastic, shattered glass, and smashed windshields.
Hailstorm like I've never seen before.
Jenny Cook, the marketing director with Cheyenne Mountain Zoo, says they had to evacuate 8 busloads of people.
We had city buses come up and help evacuate those folks down to Cheyenne Mountain High School.
In the meantime, those that didn't get a ride called for a tow, because a handful of these cars you see in this lot are owned by families out of state.
We're a long ways from home.
Like the Vances, who traveled all the way from Iowa, that are now left stuck finding a safe way home.
A KRDO News Channel 13 investigation is getting results. New at 10 o'clock, questionable hiring practices where construction workers are shortchanged, and so are Colorado taxpayers.
Our own Stephanie Sierra spent months on construction sites across the Front Range, and tonight she shows us what she uncovered.
Morning.
5 months ago, we went to this Colorado Springs construction site. We weren't there long until we ran into the site foreman.
Are you aware that you have a subcontractor utilizing a labor broker that's paying his employees under the table?
No comment.
The focus of our investigation is on one of them, this man, Edgar Montoya, owner of Master Drywall.
Do you think you're taking advantage of your employees?
I don't want to affect you. Thank you. Have a good day.
We hear you're not paying overtime or taxes or workers' compensation. Do you have any comment?
My question for the CDLE, the investigating agency, is don't you think it would be a viable thing to do to have these unannounced audits so you can have a better eye on the ground?
We really have to force CDLE to do their job.
And Governor Hickenlooper agrees. Change needs to happen.
It's unpatriotic.
On this side of eternity is one place that houses the country's worst criminals. For some, it's the last stop before they meet their maker. They've earned their way here. Their monstrous deeds on Earth buy them a ticket to Supermax. But who are they?
If your name is the something, you are probably going to be at the Florence ADX.
Layers of barbed wire surrounds the fortress, guard towers on each and every corner. Every move is watched. Security is so tight here at Supermax, media has not been allowed inside for more than 10 years, including us.
Inside, inmates call a 7 by 12-foot cell home. They're kept in this box of poured concrete 23 hours a day. A twin-sized bed, stool, table, shelf, toilet. Their shower on a timer. Their window to the outside, 4 inches wide, only looks to the sky. If an inmate tries to escape, Thomas Silverstein, he's the reason behind Supermax. He killed 3 people behind bars, including a correctional officer, while he was in solitary confinement in Marion, Illinois. Marion itself, a replacement for Alcatraz. Silverstein and more than 400 criminals live here, men whose crimes elevate them to household names. 9/11 conspirator Zacarias Moussaoui, shoe bomber Richard Reed, Unabomber Ted Kaczynski, Boston bomber Dzhokhar Tsarnaev, Oklahoma City bombing conspirator Terry Nichols, FBI spy Robert Hansen.
The self-mutilation, the self-harm, it's extreme.
But for some, it's not all isolation. You behave, you get to know other inmates.
The leader of the Black Gangster Disciples here. And then you'll have a guy that's a white supremacist gang here. I mean, these guys are like top dogs, right? And they play chess.
For all, though, they've lost in the game of life, removed, erased from society, surrounded by beauty, but unable to see any of it.
The lack of physical fitness in America is a threat to our national security. That is according to both the military and the CDC. Tonight, we begin our series Fit to Fight with an in-depth look at the fitness of our active duty military. And to get a true sense of exactly how they train, I was allowed to tag along with the Fort Carson unit a few days ago for a heart-pounding and humbling session of PT.
The temperature is still in the 20s when these Fort Carson soldiers assemble for physical training.
Come on, put it down.
Some of them have already learned firsthand from hiking up hills with heavy packs and weapons just how important strength and endurance can be in the Army.
Exercise.
They break up into smaller groups, and I'm allowed to join in, beginning with a series of warm-ups, including leg lifts, push-ups,
Go, 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 go.
and more.
Next strength, move forward.
After that, it's time to run.
This is called the 30-60 drill. You sprint for 30 seconds, you walk for 60 seconds. You do it 8 times. We're on like number 3 or 4, and I'm way behind everybody else.
Then it's a series of sprints back and forth, which I didn't even try. And I didn't attempt this either, but my 200 pounds seemed no problem for them.
We're good. This drill is called the fireman carry. Someone puts someone of equal size on their back. They go down about 30, 40 yards and then back. And they're not walking, they're jogging.
Well, since last year's training class, we've had 2 mass shootings at schools, 17 killed in Parkland, Florida, and 10 in Santa Fe, Texas. As a result, the 3-day training provided by Faster Colorado has grown from 1 class with 20 people to 3 classes, each with 24 people. Even a cloud of moths doesn't affect these trainees determined to protect their schools and students.
Get down, get down, get down!
This is the 2nd year for the training. You're seeing more school personnel, mostly from rural districts where help takes longer to arrive. They went to Adams County to get the best instruction from current law enforcement officers. The training also addresses a concern from critics.
If I do it fast, that front sight just tears up your hand.
Trainees learn how to keep a student or someone else from taking their guns. But despite all their hard work, many trainees, like these 2, prefer to remain anonymous, partly because of opposition they get from people back home and in their own school districts.
A lot of larger school districts is that the boards have no appetite for it, and not only are they not interested in authorizing staff, they won't even have the conversation.
I can understand how you would think guns equals bad. And I want those people to know that somebody like me who cares deeply about his students as if they were his own kids, I don't ever want to be in a situation where I am helpless.
Welcome back. Time now for a KRDO special investigation. There are 114 county judges in the state, but only 2 of them have been singled out as unfit to be on the bench.
And turns out one of those judges presides right here in El Paso County. His name, Christopher Acker. Critics have called him biased and demeaning, and a state commission agrees, recommending his ouster.
KRDO News Channel 13 Stephanie Sierra is investigating this. She is live tonight with a story you'll only see right here. Steph.
Well, Bart and Heather, anyone charged with a DUI, reckless driving, or any other criminal misdemeanor could appear before Judge Christopher Acker. Now, his chambers are right beside us on the 2nd floor here, and some of his colleagues there want him out, questioning his ethics. So we wanted to know why.
All rise. El Paso County Court is now in session. The Honorable Christopher Acker presiding.
El Paso County Judge Christopher Acker under fire for complaints of bias and rude behavior.
We take it very seriously.
He is abrasive, he is demeaning,
and he's abusive to people in that courtroom.
That's the voice of one attorney who frequently appeared before Judge Acker, but wished to remain anonymous in fear of retaliation.
So you're probably wondering how many other people feel this way. Well, according to these surveys, 90 other attorneys and non-attorneys gave Acker a grade F on 6 of the categories used to evaluate him.
That's 90 Fs.
I do think perhaps he could be gruff. However, I don't think he was rude. I think he treated everyone fairly.
The people are the deciders, not the commission.
Leaving the real judgment in voters' hands.
This all started with one call, then quickly doubled and tripled, and before we knew it, we had 10 people calling in, all with the same problem, out thousands of dollars from this man. And according to Springs Police, Daniel Nail just got booked into the El Paso County Jail on weapons charges earlier this week. So here's what we know so far.
None of the buildings have roof. I'm down to paper in the winter.
Mary DePace is still recovering from those torrential hailstorms that tore through southern Colorado. For the past 5 months, DePace has been working with this man, Daniel Nail, who owns Nailed It Roofing, a company that advertises home improvement you can trust.
Once he got the money, I barely heard from him.
Her roof has been like this for the past month. Now she's worried it could be happening to others.
What about like an elderly couple that is on a very, very fixed income?
But it already had. Joanne and Rick Kronick, a couple in their 80s, reached out to us telling us they paid more than $1,700 and their home not done. Meet Brittany King. She's disabled and tells us she's still waiting to get roughly $1,300 back. Next was Alexis Pressler, out $8,000, and she tells us her house not done. And get this, it's not just customers that are victims, but Nail's former employees who lost a ton of money.
I lost $30,000.
I lost upwards of $20,000.
I lost $30,000.
I lost about $40,000.
Well, after watching our story, 3 different roofing companies have come forward offering to help.
Does she know?
No, she doesn't know.
Until she gets a knock on her door with an offer to fix her roof for free.
We'd like to go ahead and take care of that for you at no cost to you.
Oh, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Pretty gracious act of kindness there. It would have cost $14,000 for Mary to finish up replacing her 3 roofs, but she got it all for free.
And now to the best seat in the house, field level of Falcon Stadium, covered in cadets. From there, you get a prime view of the hat toss and the flyover. So for the 2nd year in a row, we decided to share that view with you, setting cameras all around the cadets for their big finale. Turned out pretty good last year, and it was even bigger and better this year.
Graduates, it's been an absolute honor being your commandant this past year. Go forth and be leaders and warrior airmen. Class of 2018, dismissed. 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 Dismissed.
Earlier in the newscast, we showed you that amazing AFA hat toss and the great work our KRDO photographers put in today.
But one of our favorite parts of today's coverage came just after that. News Channel 13's Casey Kirshner shows us the frenzy that follows that iconic hat toss.
It's this pivotal moment at every Air Force Academy graduation.
Dismissed.
That everybody knows, everybody remembers. But these hats on the ground are just the beginning. Some people might think these grads collect them, take them home. These hats, after all, a symbol of accomplishment and celebration. And while they will be taken home and cherished, it won't be by these second lieutenants. Instead, they'll leave the stadium with these little guys.
Hundreds of kids lined up just before the ceremony's end, each with a plan.
Get on the field and get a hat. Snatch a hat and run back up.
Some a bit more elaborate.
I'm going to try and stay away from where everybody else is so I have a better chance.
My mom told me to look for the cleanest hat because that means it's a girl's hat.
And as soon as the hats fly, so do these little legs. It's exciting, it's chaotic, and it's a chance to snag the best souvenir.
You look good. Yeah, I like this hat. It's so cool.
Now, each year graduates tend to leave something in their hats before they're thrown, whether it's money or a message. And this year, it appears that almost all the graduates left the same thing.
I put $20.18. $20.18. $20.18. $20.18.
And these kids get to head home with a new cap and a bit of cash.
I'm going to take the money out of it and put it in my piggy bank and have so much fun with it.
Put it in my hat collection.
I'm gonna keep it safe in my room and keep it forever.
With nearly 1,000 hats, nearly 1,000 keepsakes, making the 2018 AFA graduation for these kids truly unforgettable. Reporting from Falcon Stadium, Casey Kirshner, KRDO News Channel 13.
You're watching KRDO News Channel 13, where the news comes first. Your news starts right now.
We would encourage everybody to keep Deputy Flick's family in their thoughts and prayers, as well as the other people who were injured tonight. Definitely a sad day for our community, and we will get through it together.
For the third time in 37 days, a deputy in Colorado has been killed in the line of duty. This time, the tragedy hitting on our own home turf. Good evening, I'm Heather Skold.
And I'm Bart Bedsole. Thanks for making us your choice for local news at 10 o'clock. We have team coverage tonight on the shooting this afternoon that claimed the life of an El Paso County deputy, the latest deputy killed in a senseless act of violence. We begin with a closer look at what we know about the deadly confrontation today. It happened inside the Murray Hills Apartments near Galley and Murray in southeast Colorado Springs.
I heard the shot, then I come on out here.
Video broadcasted live on Facebook by a neighbor at the apartment complex.
You try and bring him back to life.
Shows a frantic scene. Paramedics desperately trying to save 3 people on the ground with critical injuries. Much of the video too graphic to share. The officers and deputies were part of an auto theft task force, a group made up of multiple agencies that specializes in stolen vehicles. And when they confronted their suspect today, disaster.
They were investigating a motor vehicle theft. They encountered an adult male suspect. A struggle ensued, and shots were fired.
When it was over, the suspect was dead at the scene. The others were all rushed to Memorial Central Hospital. In all, 6 people were shot. The suspect, a civilian hit by a stray bullet, a Colorado Springs police officer, and 3 El Paso County deputies, including Detective Micah Flick. The announcement coming from Sheriff Bill Elder just after 6 p.m.
It is with profound sadness that I say that this afternoon, Deputy Micah Flick, 34 years old, was shot in the line of duty and has died.
Tonight, there is no distinction between our uniforms, State Patrol, Sheriff's Office, and the Colorado Springs Police Department. Our hearts are all broken.
And tonight, we pause to remember the man who died serving and protecting this community, Deputy Micah Flick. It was 11 years ago today, Deputy Flick started his service with the El Paso County Sheriff's Office.
11 years serving. 11 years making our community a safer place. This day started like any other, ending like no one imagined.
Good evening, everybody. It is with profound sadness that I say that this afternoon, Deputy Micah Flick, 34 years old, was shot in the line of duty and has died.
Micah Flick, 34 years old. The detective worked his way through the ranks, starting at the Criminal Justice Center and Patrol.
Very, very well liked, very, very well respected.
Deputy Flick was an outstanding member of my agency, and he will be missed.
Deputy Flick is survived by his wife and twins, 7 years old. A grief never as deep as this.
And it was in 2016, we did an interview with Detective Flick. He talked to us about a rash of car break-ins and how to protect yourself.
Each criminal, some may go and break windows. Some actually look for the crime of opportunity where the door's unlocked. They see something in plain view where they try to take items out.
And we have learned tonight that Deputy Flick was a 2002 graduate of Colorado Springs Christian Schools.
As you saw earlier, it was a chaotic scene at Galley and Murray in the minutes after the shooting at the Murray Hill Apartments. News Channel 13's Colleen Sikora has been on the scene all day. She is live once again tonight. Colleen?
Barton Heather, crime tape is still up here on scene as law enforcement continue their investigation into what happened here. This is the most quiet that we've seen the scene all day, but earlier, chaos. A deputy calling frantically.
21 Murray Hill Apartments. We got an officer down, at least one officer down.
Law enforcement rushing to the scene.
We need multiple ambulances.
Mary Flo Horan heard it all.
A little close for comfort.
She lives in the Murray Hill Apartments and was putting on her shoes to leave when shots rang out.
It was less than a minute, probably only 30 seconds. I heard like a pop, and then there was a slight pause, and then I heard like a pop, 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 and then there was another pause, and I heard probably 1 or 2 more gunshots, and then it was over.
When she got outside, she ran into a man who she believes was the suspect.
I saw the guy come around the corner. He was limping really badly and holding in his hip, and he went inside my building.
All we have right now, suspect is in number 105. I don't have any further at this point.
Horan says she's seen him before and he lives at the complex. But it's this scene leaving Deputy Micah Flick dead, 2 deputies and 1 CSPD officer injured.
If I had not taken those 2 minutes to put on a different pair of socks and put on different shoes, I would have been outside when it happened.
And this witness reeling. Now, one lane of Murray just opened a little over an hour ago. As you can see, both CSPD and El Paso County Sheriff's Office still have mobile command centers on scene. Officers here say that they expect to be on scene for hours and into tomorrow morning. Live in Colorado Springs, Colleen Sikora, KRDO News Channel 13.
And maybe beyond that, Colleen, thanks. In addition to the suspect, the police officer, and the 3 county deputies shot, we told you about the civilian who was caught in the crossfire. And tonight we have learned his name is Thomas Villanueva. We spoke with his roommates who said Villanueva was on his way back from a restaurant when he was shot through the chest. The shootout happened in the parking lot right in front of his apartment. Villanueva was taken to Memorial Hospital and survived, but we currently don't know his exact condition.
And all afternoon, our cameras were kept at a distance from the scene. But when people who live at the Murray Hill Apartments were allowed to return home, we got a closer look at the crime scene and some exclusive video and interviews from witnesses. KRDO News Channel 13's Crystal Story continues our team coverage tonight.
Heather, the sights and sounds that witnesses saw at this crime scene earlier today will not be easily forgotten. We talked to one man who literally hid under a stairwell while shots were fired.
He went down right before me, maybe 20 foot out in front of me.
When he heard the shots, he hid in his apartment, scared for his life.
Very, very exhilarating, I could say the least. My heart rate was going 100 miles an hour.
This video shot from a balcony just feet from where the shooting happened.
Walking by the stairs, and there's like a wing window you can look out as you walk by. As I was approaching the window, I heard a couple pops, rapid fire, like 2 or 3 shots. And as I turned to the window and looked out, I saw a bunch of people scattering and moving in on one guy.
For those who saw and heard the whole thing, falling asleep won't be easy. Now the man who led us on his balcony actually came home just after 4:30 to find his entire apartment complex closed off. He had to wait 2 hours until just after 6 when that parking lot was reopened. In Colorado Springs, Crystal Story, KRDO News Channel 13.
Crystal, thanks. Just after the incident, the injured deputies and injured officer were taken to Memorial Central Hospital in Colorado Springs. That is also where a procession began to transport the remains of Deputy Flick to the coroner's office. KRDO News Channel 13's Casey Kirshner has been there all night. She joins us with the latest. Casey.
The last we heard, the Colorado Springs officer who was injured was in surgery here at the hospital but was in stable condition. We also reached out to the El Paso County Sheriff's Office and the hospital here to try to get the conditions of the other deputies that were injured, but we haven't heard back yet tonight. But I will say the community is already rallying behind the law enforcement in our area. In the moments following the shooting, first responders jumped into action, bringing the injured here to Memorial Central. The emergency area was closed at the hospital for a time, but after a while, the frantic moments turning into somber faces. The officers and deputies here learning that one of their own had passed and others were hurt.
We would encourage everybody to keep Deputy Flick's family in their thoughts and prayers, as well as the other people who were injured tonight.
To honor the fallen deputy, a procession from the hospital to the coroner's office.
This is one way that we honor our own. And we would encourage you to participate as we honor the life of this fallen deputy.
Hundreds lining the streets, all to remember a hero taken too soon.
A very, very sharp, put together guy, very, very well liked, very, very well respected. It is a loss for our agency. It is a loss for our community.
With the community rallying around our law enforcement, showing their support in this tragic time.
This is our way of giving back to them and saying thank you for not only your service, but for paying the ultimate sacrifice.
We were also told tonight that the funeral plans have started for Deputy Flick, and of course we'll pass those along to you just as soon as we get them. Live in Colorado Springs, Casey Kirshner, KRDO News Channel 13.
Casey, thank you. And people at the tail end of that procession also came out in force to honor the fallen deputy, waiting in the cold and windy night, all to say thank you to a man who gave the ultimate sacrifice. KRDO News Channel 13's Chase Golightly was there and spoke to those paying their respects.
The flag was set to half staff outside the El Paso County Corrections Center. Sheriff's deputies, police officers, and dozens of those in the community came together to say goodbye to Deputy Micah Flick.
I think it's just a sad loss for the community. It's just a sad loss for the community.
Law enforcement leaning on each other, embracing in the face of grief. People bringing flags to show support. Dozens waited for the long motorcade to bring the fallen deputy. After driving from the hospital where Flick was pronounced dead, people stood in silence, watching as the cars and motorcycles drove by. Then when the hearse carrying Flick arrived, tears were shed and a final salute was given. Those who attended the procession say their thoughts and prayers are with family, friends of Deputy Flick. Others saying it's comforting to see the community come together to support our law enforcement during a deadly year.
Everybody hates everything all the time lately, and it's good to show this much love. You know, you don't see a whole lot of it.
Many praying that the other deputies injured in the shooting will be okay.
And thankfully, this is not a common occurrence in southern Colorado, but Colorado Springs is no stranger to tragedy in the line of duty. Most recently, on November 27th of 2015, UCCS campus police officer Garrett Swayze was shot and killed as he responded to the Planned Parenthood shooting. The legal status of the shooter, Robert Deere, remains in limbo as he undergoes mental treatment before he can stand trial. Before that, you have to go back to 2006. That's when CSPD officer Jared Jensen was killed while attempting to arrest a parolee wanted for attempted murder. The suspect was eventually captured and convicted in 2008. And viewers may also remember the case of Officer Ken Jordan. Jordan was shot and killed after pulling over a suspected drunk driver back in December of 2005. The suspect was shot and taken into custody and is now serving a life sentence.
And of course, this all comes on the heels of two deadly shootings involving deputies in the Denver metro area. It was the morning of New Year's Eve when a group of deputies was ambushed at the Copper Creek Apartments in Douglas County. Deputy Zachary Parrish was gunned down when a suspect opened fire during a standoff. 3 other deputies and a Castle Rock police officer were wounded in that confrontation. Then just 3 weeks later, Adams County Deputy Heath Gum was shot in the chest by a suspect while responding to reports of a street fight. Gum was killed despite wearing a bulletproof vest and was laid to rest this past Friday. We will continue to bring you updates and alerts as soon as they happen. Just be sure and download our KRDO News app. You can find it in your app store.
We'll also have complete coverage tomorrow on Good Morning Colorado from 4:30 a.m. to 7 o'clock. We don't want to go ahead and take a short break. First up, though, a peek at some big weather changes that are coming overnight. Stacy.
That's right. A cold front has pushed through, dropping our temperatures, and it's created an area of some light snow across southern Colorado, mainly I-25 and Highway 50. I'll explain how long the snow sticks around and how much we could end up with, all coming up in just a few minutes.
And we're also tracking that big news on Wall Street. The market suffering through a huge correction today. The results, the largest one-day loss in stock history.
But first, the verdict is in. The results looking somewhat familiar. We'll tell you what happened today in the corruption trial of former El Paso County Sheriff Terry Makita. Today, a judge declared another mistrial for former El Paso County Sheriff Terry Makita. KRDO News Channel 13's Dana Clements has been in the courtroom since the beginning of the retrial and has more on today's mixed verdict.
The jury found Terry Makita not guilty on the official misconduct charges, and once again it was hung on the extortion and conspiracy to commit extortion counts. Those were the charges the jury could not come to an agreement on last summer.
We, the jury, find the defendant Terry Makita not guilty of first-degree criminal misconduct.
Acquitted on 2 misdemeanor counts, hung on 2 felonies. The 7-woman, 5-man jury came to the decision after nearly 13 hours of deliberation. A very similar outcome to the ex-sheriff's first trial.
It shows, though, that these are complex charges, that these are tough charges, that certainly these were not frivolous charges, as 2 juries deliberated for over 21 hours on these charges.
Prosecutor Mark Hurlburt expressed his disappointment after the verdict.
Although we are disappointed in the not guilty verdicts, absolutely respect this jury 100%. They obviously took their time and were very serious about these charges, and we appreciate all their time and all their hard work on this.
It was a very different reaction from Makita and his team, huddling and smiling in the courtroom, then walking out to say, "We are very pleased with the outcome." This is a huge blow to prosecution because it's the second time a jury has acquitted the former sheriff on some charges and hung on the others. Last summer, a jury acquitted Makita of witness tampering, conspiracy to commit witness tampering, and official misconduct. This retrial centered around Terry Makita's intent when he made certain decisions as sheriff. Prosecution argued that he abused his power to retaliate for political reasons, while defense said he was just trying to do his job.
No word yet if prosecution will retry the former sheriff again, but both parties will be back to discuss what's next at the end of the month. Reporting in the studio, Dana Clemens, KRDO News Channel 13.
And to your money now, the Dow plunged more than 1,500 points on Wall Street today. Even after a slight rebound, the market closed 1,175 points down, the biggest one-day point drop in history.
When the market pulls back, and particularly as sharply as we've seen in recent days, there's this natural tendency to think, oh no, what's wrong? There's nothing wrong. What you're seeing is just some profit taking because of the fact that interest rates are going up.
Tax cuts and deregulation have helped fuel the Dow. It's gone up 21% in just the past year, but with such dramatic climbs come volatility. The climb could also prompt the Federal Reserve to hike interest rates. Stacey?
Winter weather alerts are in place over the mountains where they're expecting anywhere from an additional 2 to even 10 inches, plus parts of the eastern plains under a winter weather advisory as well. We have snow falling across southern Colorado right now. I'll tell you how much we could see coming up in just a little bit. Welcome back. We have a weather alert day for some snow that's falling across southern Colorado right now, expected to provide a few slick spots for the morning commute tomorrow. Here's our Pueblo Chieftain camera, and you can see some of that snow falling. It's been ongoing now for about an hour and a half. There's also snow coming down in Fountain. This is our Ceramic Landscape Materials Neighborhood Weather Network camera. So some snow you can see on live HD Doppler radar, mainly along I-25 and Highway 50, really south of Highway 50. We're not expected to see a lot of that snow. It's going to continue to be basically in these bands and continue throughout the overnight hours, perhaps even lingering into the early morning hours tomorrow. Notice that we're not finding a lot of snow right now around Colorado Springs. That's really around the area. Pueblo has had some ongoing snow along with Canyon City, but here's a view right now in Colorado Springs. Our overhead door camera showing some of those low clouds that continue to build down behind that cold front that's moved through, and it is lowering our visibility. 2 miles in Colorado Springs, 1 mile visibility now in Pueblo, and 1.7 in Canyon City. So reduced visibility due to some of that light snow, which is expected to continue as we head throughout the overnight hours. I will pause this for your morning commute. Notice there's not a lot of snow showing up here on Skycast, but that's not to say that we still couldn't see a few slick spots. So do use caution tomorrow, and mainly that snow is going to be ending from north to south on Tuesday. As far as what we're expecting for amounts, I think many places are going to end up with anywhere from a trace to 2 inches. Maybe some spots like Teller County and El Paso County seeing closer to 3 inches by the time it's all said and done. About a trace to an inch across the eastern plains and over near Walsenburg as well. Notice south of Highway 50, not as much. Temperatures tonight going down into the 20s and the teens, and those highs tomorrow staying chilly in the 30s and the 40s. Here's a look at our Woodland Park. We have 40% chance for that snow tomorrow. Again, we have that weather alert in place. Looking ahead to next weekend, another chance for some snow moving in, but the second half of the work week going to be rather mild and quiet, and it's really not until the weekend that we have those snow chances return for Canyon City. So again, weather alert tomorrow, highs in the 30s, then we get back into the 50s, a quiet end to the work week, cooling off again for the weekend. In Pueblo, again, some snow early on tomorrow. That will be ending. We'll be left with the cold temperatures. Then we warm up. And again, watching Saturday and Sunday, it could be pushed to just Saturday or Sunday, depending on how things trend in the next couple of days. In Colorado Springs, 38 tomorrow. Again, some slick spots possible for that morning commute with the snow that's falling tonight. So do use caution, give yourself a little extra time, and those temperatures warming up for the rest of the week. So no problems in terms of roadways. And then our next storm system comes in for the weekend.
Bit of an odd snow tonight. Seems like Pueblo, Fountain, areas to the south getting the bulk of it, whereas north of town, which normally gets it,
right?
on the
It's
dry
opposite.
end, right?
Yeah. Completely opposite this time around with this pattern.
Give the other half a chance for a while.
Yeah.
Stacey, thanks. And we continue following breaking news of an El Paso County deputy killed in the line of duty.
As soon as the news broke, law enforcement agencies all across the state took to social media with tributes. Springs Police and the El Paso County Sheriff's Office are still reeling with the recent deputy deaths in Adams and Douglas counties.
The departments wrote on Twitter and Facebook asking for your support and thoughts after Deputy Micah Flick's death. We would also like to extend our own sympathies to the family of Deputy Michael Flick and also the entire El Paso County Sheriff's Office family. You can see more tributes on our website, krdo.com. That is it for tonight, but our news continues in the morning with Abby, John, and Shannon.
That starts at 4:30 in the morning. They will continue our tribute to El Paso County Deputy Micah Flick, killed today in the line of duty. He is survived by his wife and 7-year-old twins. Today was his 11th anniversary with the El Paso County Sheriff's Office.